Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Radha Ballabha, Radha Ballabha Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Ballabha, Radha Ballabha Shri Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe. Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Jagattarini, Asotera Sata Shri Śrīmad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Jagattarini, Asotera Sata Shri Śrīmad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Jamuna Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. So thank you for chanting so nicely. It was like a chorus of angels. And some of the boys' voices were there as well, which made it very special. So thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we're up to this verse. Where are we? Now this verse is almost to the end of Kunti Devi's prayers. Almost the end. She's just coming to the summary. You see, the first word we will repeat is ata. Ata means therefore. So if I say to you this and this and this and that, and then I say therefore, anyone knows, now comes the conclusion. I've given you all the information, and now I'm going to tell you what I want to do with that information. So, just before we start the verse, we should understand that Kunti Devi has tried to encourage Krishna to stay. She has invited him actually and said to him, "Are you leaving when there's so many enemies against us? So many difficulties are there." She also said to him, "Different people find you so difficult to understand. You're so difficult to understand. And some people say this, and some people say that, and some people say this, and so forth. And she's presented some of the different reasons why the Shastra actually says that Krishna appears in this world. To pacify Lord Brahma, to correct things that are incorrect, to pacify the demigods, and so on and so on and so on. But in her heart, she's not thinking any of those things. She's thinking that Krishna, he's my nephew. And he's appeared in this world to protect the devotees and glorify the process of bhakti. To glorify the process of bhakti means to encourage the world, the whole world, towards hearing about Krishna, reading about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, learning about Krishna, and developing their love for Krishna. So then, at the end, in text 39 and 40, 38, 39, 40, she's saying how our kingdom is like this, but it won't appear very beautiful without you. If you leave, it will no longer be beautiful. And all these cities and villages that have flourished in all respects, they are fully in abundance, and the trees are full of fruits, the rivers are fresh water flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the ocean is full of wealth. And all this is due to your glance alone. And when you leave and you take your glance from us, then all our prosperity will vanish. This is her heart. It's not accurate. She's not giving you an accurate weather forecast. She's telling her heart to Krishna. So this verse, Atha Vishvesa Vishvatman Vishva... Yes, please. Atha Vishvesa Vishvatman Vishvamurtai Sakeshu Me Sneha Pasamimam Chindi Dridham Pandushu Vrishnishu Atha Vishvesa Vishvatman Vishvamurte Svakeshu Me Sneha Pasamimam Chindi Dridham Pandushu Vrishnishu Atha Vishvesa Vishvatman Vishvamurte Svakeshu Me Sneha Pasham Imam Chindi Dridham Pandushu Vrishnishu. Atha Vishvesha Vishvatman Vishvamurte Svakeshu Me Sneha Pesham Imam Shindi Dridham Pandushu Vishnishu Atha Vishvesha Vishvatman Vishvamurte Svakeshu Me Sneha Pesham Imam Chindi Dridham Pandushu Vishnishu Atha Vishvesha Vishvatman Vishvamurte Svakeshu Me Sneha Pasham Imam Chindi Dridham Pandushu Vishnishu Ata Vishvesha Vishvatman Vishvamurte Svakeshu Me Sneha Pesham Imam Chindi Dridham Pandushu Drisnishu Da Vishvesha Vishvatman Vishvamurte Svakeshu Me Sneha Pasham Imam Chindi Dridham Pandushu Drisnishu Atha Vishvesha Vishvatman Vishvamurte Svakeshu Me Sneha Pesham Imam Chindi Dridham Pandushu Drisnishu Ata, therefore, Vishva Isha, O Lord of the universe, Vishva Atman, O Soul of the universe, Vishvamurti, O Personality of the universal form, Svakeshu, unto my own kinsman, my, Sneha Pasham, tie of affection, Imam, this, Chindi, cut off, Dridham, deep, Pandushu, for the Pandavas, Vrishnishu, for the Vrishnis also. Translation. O Lord of the universe, O Soul of the universe, O Personality of the form of the universe, please, therefore, sever my tie of affection for my kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. Please repeat, O Lord of the universe, Soul of the universe, a personality of the form of the universe, please therefore sever my tie of affection for my kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada's purport. A pure devotee of the Lord is ashamed to ask anything in self-interest from the Lord. But the householders are sometimes obliged to ask favors from the Lord, being bound by the tie of family affection. Srimati Kunti Devi was conscious of this fact, and therefore she prayed to the Lord to cut off the affectionate tie from her own kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. The Pandavas are her own sons, and the Vrishnis are the members of her paternal family. Krishna was equally related to both the families. Both the families required the Lord's help because both of them were dependent devotees of the Lord. Srimati Kunti Devi wished Sri Krishna to remain with her sons, the Pandavas. However, but by his doing so, her paternal family, her paternal house, would be bereft of the benefit. You see her difficulty? Her sons are on one side and she wants Krishna to please stay with them. But this is also her family over here, and so they want him. So they're both sides, her family. And so she's asking to cut the tie of attachment to her family. All these partialities troubled the mind of Kunti, and that's why she desired to cut off the affectionate tie. A pure devotee cuts off the limited ties of affection to his family and widens his activities of devotional service to all forgotten souls. The typical example is the band of the 6 Goswamis who followed the path of Lord Chaitanya. All of them belonged to the most enlightened and cultured, rich families of the higher castes. But for the benefit of the mass of population, they left their comfortable homes and became mendicants. To cut off all family affection means to broaden the field of activities, to broaden the field of activities. Without doing so, no one is qualified as a Brahmin, a king, a public leader, or a devotee of the Lord. The personality of Godhead as an ideal king showed this example. Lord Ramachandra cut off the tie of affection for his beloved wife to manifest the qualities of an ideal king. Such personalities as a Brahman, a devotee, a king, or a public leader must be very broad-minded in discharging their respective duties. Srimati Kunti Devi was conscious of this fact, and being weak, she prayed to be free from such bondage of family affection. The Lord is addressed as the Lord of the universe, or the Lord of the universal mind, indicating his all-powerful ability to cut the hard knot of family affection. And therefore it is sometimes experienced that the Lord, out of his special affinity towards a weak devotee, breaks the family affection by force of circumstances arranged by his all-powerful energy. By doing so, he causes the devotee to become completely dependent on him, and thus clears the path for his going back to Godhead. Om Agyana Timihandasya Gina Gina Salakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So this verse is always one that makes people uncomfortable. Why do you think it makes people uncomfortable? If they're asked to give up their attachment to their family, what did you think, Rasa? Same. Give up their attachment to their family. Why does that make you uncomfortable? That makes you uncomfortable. Yeah. Okay, the question was, what makes you feel uncomfortable? And the answer was a very honest one, very simple, honest answer, that Krishna can take away your family members if you're a weak devotee. It sounds kind of scary, doesn't it? Like as if he's scanning you all and saying, who's here, a weak devotee? You're going, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. As he scans you all. And then he goes, okay, there's a weak devotee, and takes away. So these kind of impressions that we get in the mind when we hear these very strong words, it's very, very important to confront them and to correct them. Because if we don't confront them and we don't correct them, what happens is our Krishna consciousness carries with it a lot of fear. A lot of fear. We're doing things because we don't want Krishna to take away things. We're doing things because if we don't do them, we're going to get punished for not doing them. We're doing things because if I don't do them, I'll be a weak devotee, and Krishna doesn't like weak devotees, and so I've got to do them, I've got to do them, I've got to do them. But there's no joy in what we're doing, because there's this problem. The problem is that fear and love, they're opposites. Where there's love, there's no fear. Where there's fear, there's no love. Because how can you love somebody that you're terrified of? How can you love them? You won't love them. You'll obey them. You'll perhaps serve them. You'll do whatever you have to do. If you have a boss at work and you're very afraid of him, could you come home to your wife and say, I really love him? Or would you say, I'm being very careful not to get into any trouble. I don't want to lose my job. So here's the dilemma for us, and it's a real one. We think this world is reality, and the things of this world are tangible and true. This is real. Everyone knows this is real, right? If I'm talking about some kind of an instrument that you've never seen, that exists somewhere else, you will prefer to believe in the value and significance of the kartals that you can see to the thing that I'm making up. And nowadays, of course, with the nature of social media and the internet and AI and all these things, everybody is also invited to live in a fantasy world. But a fantasy world isn't a healthy place to live, because you don't have any tangibility. You can make fantasy money and fantasy farms and fantasy games and fantasy everything, but it only exists within your mind. And so therefore, when you need something, your fantasy world cannot give you what you need. So does everyone understand that a fantasy world can't give you what you need? Is that everyone can understand that, right? I've got a fantasy farm and I'm growing fantasy bananas and I'm hungry. I go eat a fantasy banana? No, we go look for a tangible banana, right? So we have to learn to understand that this world is a fantasy. It's a fantasy insofar as it's ever changing, always changing, 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 changing. Yesterday I went down to the shore here of the water. It's not an ocean, it's a bay, I think. But I went to the water, and the water was coming in like this. And then the sand would be wet for a moment, and then it would go out again, and another wave would come in, and another wave would come in. Now, if I was standing there, and I said, I like that wave. I want that wave. Can I get that wave to stay? Does anyone believe that I can get a wave to stay permanent where I want it? I cannot. It's gone. It's dissolved into the sand, or it's gone out and come back, and it's constantly changing its form, continuously changing its form. So this is like a fantasy. If I say I want a wave, that wave, I cannot have it. And similarly in this material world, we're clasping on to family members, but they're continuously changing. You know, there's a belief in certain Christian churches, Christian cultures, where they believe that when we surrender to Jesus and give our life fully to Him, and when we die, we'll all go back to something, I don't know what they call it, but we could say the spiritual world, and we go in the self-same bodies, because they don't distinguish between the Atma. They don't have a scientific understanding that I am the eternal one within these temporary changing bodies. They don't have that. So they believe, this is my daughter, this is my son, I love my daughter, I love my son. When I leave, I go to heaven, and after that they'll come, and we'll all be together there in a happy family. But can anyone think what is the problem with that? Let's see if anyone is thinking. What's that? The body's buried in the graveyard, but we have another something, something, something. That's what they're hoping for, because they love their family so much that they want to be with their family forever and ever and ever and ever. They're thinking about their family as in the first position in their life. And the really crazy thing, and I'm sure you would all immediately agree, is that how are you going to decide at which point in your family's development you're going to go and be together? When your grandfather was a baby? Or when your grandfather's an old man? Does he have to stay an old man because you knew him as an old man? And he has to come as an old man forever and ever and ever? And I like my son when he was 5 years old, but he's 25 years old now, and he doesn't want to be 5 years old. He wants to be 25 years old. And I don't like his girlfriend, and so I don't want her to come. And it goes on and on and on, crazy. Why is it crazy? Because it's a fantasy. So we as devotees, we don't like to live in a fantasy because there's nothing to gain at the end. So family attachment is like that. This is my son, this is my daughter, this is my grandmother, this is my auntie. We're a big family. And I think of it like this. Say you've got this much time, this much conscious awareness you have. Okay, so now I have my mother, takes up that much space, my father takes up that much space, and then there's my daughter, my son, they take up that much space, and when they get married, then there's a son-in-law, a daughter-in-law, they take up that much space, and then they're going to have babies, and they're so cute, so then they take up that much space, and then also we have a dog, because we're Australian, and we have this, and then you've got this tiny little bit left. Tiny little bit left. Tiny little bit left for Krishna. And all the rest is taken. I've got to go and do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And when we speak about it and think about it, it all is valid. But it's valid within this concept that this is my family. And the fantastic part is that when you die, you can't come back to that family. And neither does that family remain the same. They keep growing and growing and growing. And you've gone to heaven already, and you're waiting for them to die, to come and join you, because you're a little lonely there, and where's my family? And where is Krishna in that? Where is Krishna in that? Does he take the first position or the second position? So someone may say, a Christian person may say, well, we're told to love our neighbor as ourself. This is a commandment. We should love everybody. We should take care of everybody. But then the very first commandment that is given to those of that particular religious tradition is, you should love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind. With thy heart, one's soul, and one's mind. And then love your neighbor as yourself. So this is a very profound, simple teaching, and we have obviously a much more elaborate scriptures, philosophy, and so forth. But if you boiled it all down and extracted the essence, here is the essence. The primary position should be for Krishna, because he's the one who is permanently ours. And the second position after that should be for the family. Now, I want to read you a little bit from this Healing Prayers book, because Bhaktivedanta Maharaj has thought about this very deeply. So first, Kunti is saying that please stay. Without you, our family, we've got so much prosperity now, but it would be nothing without you. Please stay. Hata vishvesa vishvatman vishvamurti svakeshu me sneha pasam imam chindi dridham pandushu vrishnishu. This is the verse. O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, personality of the form of the universe, please therefore sever my tie of affection for my kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. So she begins with this word ata, and this is the conclusion, therefore, or the logical conclusion of all her prayers. She's come to this point. And therefore she will complete her prayers with these final verses. So Queen Kunti could have asked for one of several things. She's made these beautiful prayers. She's asked Krishna to stay. She could have asked and said, you can do anything. Therefore, please, since all my grandchildren were killed in the war, send me new grandchildren. My sons may have more children, so we can continue our glorious lineage. Or she could have said, you are God, and you have given us everything, so please go on giving us your mercy, pour more mercy on us, your faithful servants. Or she could have said, please let us be in control, let us reign this country for as long as possible. Or she could have said, we depend entirely on you, please protect us and please stay with us and never leave us. But no, her request is, you can do anything. You can do anything. So please cut the knot of affection in my heart towards my sons and my father's family. Only by understanding the underlying logic of Queen Kunti's plea can we say that we have understood her heart. And we need to understand her heart, otherwise we will be left with a kind of, as I said, a kind of scary feeling. You mean when I become a serious devotee, I have to stop liking all my family? That sounds awful. I'm not going to become a serious devotee like that. So we have to remember first everything she has said so far. She began by asking a question. In the very beginning, she asked a question. What are we women, because Kunti is representing us, what are we meant to do whose hearts are full of so many attachments? So she represented herself as a woman, because she is a woman, and because as a woman, as Srila Prabhupada points out, women are soft-hearted by nature, and therefore they're nurturing. And when you nurture, then quite naturally one develops affection and also attachment. So she was asking this question. These great sages can't understand you. These great thinkers, these great munis and persons, they don't understand you. How can we understand you as women? And then she gave the ways that we can understand. We can chant Krishna's name. We can serve his form. We know these. We can cast off a sense of ownership in this world and try to understand that God's mercy is behind all events in this world. We spoke of that yesterday. We can reflect on the pastimes of the Lord and try to see how His love manifests in His activities in this world. And we can realize that Krishna comes here in different incarnations for the purpose, His purpose. What is His reason to come? It is so that we have something to hear, to retell, to share with each other, to enable us to break free from the rapid current of karma, which is binding us, and permits us, by hearing about Him, to begin to serve God directly. So, this is what we are meant to achieve. But here, Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, he points out, and I felt when I read this that this is very pertinent. He points out what is the problem, why we start feeling very uncomfortable. We might say that I'm feeling uncomfortable because I love my family members, and this seems to be very unfair. That's certainly there. But the real reason we feel uncomfortable is because we don't have a very clear conception and sense of what is Krishna and the reality of His Leelas. We don't have a very strong idea of what He's offering in exchange. It's a little vague for us. So our attempts should be to develop this understanding of who is Krishna, who is He, what is the reality of Krishna and His love for us. And when we try to do that, we start to have to look inwards at ourselves, because this is my challenge. It's not everybody's challenge, it's my challenge. And here we meet with a problem, and I think every one of us would immediately identify with this. He says, our attempts to focus inward will meet an obstacle. And the obstacle is our complete involvement in the world of matter. Our complete involvement in the world of matter, to which we are tied by myriads of subtle and gross bonds. Can you picture that? You want to think about Krishna, but what comes instead is, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I like this, I want this, I need this, there's this problem, there's this good thing, my health, and everything else, and we all experience this. So we're trying to move towards Krishna, but our involvement in the material world is right there. We cling tightly to our self-created self-image. And meanwhile, many negative emotions accompany material existence, constantly pulling our minds back to our bodies, which prevent us from having any deep spiritual experiences. So these negative emotions, the difficulties of life, they distort our consciousness and they bind it to the body. This is me. I have to do this, I have to do that. And so therefore our spiritual experience remains like a magical dream. Our spiritual experience remains like a fantasy. And our worldly experience of life in this world, seems very real. However, by Krishna's mercy, when we decide that actually I want to learn to love Krishna, I want to find out who He is, it's now starting to feel important to me. It didn't always feel like that, but now it's starting to feel like that. Then what happens is, these two things start to change. And gradually, Krishna consciousness becomes more real than anything else. You know, in Perth we have a gallery called the Sacred India Gallery. And when you come to the entry of the gallery, when you're going to walk inside, my husband had a good idea, which was to apply a technique that they use often in a theatre. Now we go to theatres, we see films, but previously when you'd go to a theatre, you would see a performance. And so one of the techniques that they use is that they have a big scenery that comes down so that you're all sitting here watching and you see this big painted scenery. It looks like the inside of a house, but it's painted on very, very thin cloth. And by use of light, the lights are shining this way, and the lights are shining on the cloth, and because the lights are shining on the cloth, you can't tell that the cloth is transparent. You see the painted effect, and it looks very real, very, very real. And at a certain point, because you want to change the scene, what they do is, the person who's working the lights, they very slowly turn down those lights in the front. They turn them down, lower and lower and lower until they become dark, and simultaneously they turn up the lights behind the screen. And all of a sudden, just like magic, you can see through and the whole picture disappears. And all you can see is like a gentle haze. And behind, the scene behind becomes visible and tangible and noticeable. And that's the next scene in the play. So it's a little bit like that what we want to do here in our material life. We want to slowly turn down the material and slowly turn up the spiritual. And then suddenly things change. And we think it's kind of amazing. I never thought that could happen to me, but it can happen to us. It can happen to us. And when it happens and we see these two scenes, oh, Krishna consciousness is real. Oh, Krishna's really nice. Oh, Krishna's always with me. We start to want to shift. We start to think, I want to actually develop my love for Krishna. And it happens naturally, not out of fear that, oh, if I don't develop my love for Krishna, he'll take away my family because I'm a weak devotee. That thought disappears. We never think like that. We think instead, I wish I could turn down that one and turn this one up. Because I've had the experience and I know it's possible. I myself have seen it and I want to learn how to do it. So this is Kunti Devi's mood. It's not that she wants to, and later in the next verse, Krishna will ask her, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, he uses in his comments on that verse, he says, Krishna might ask her, because in the next verse, she makes it more clear what she really wants. She says, O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges, we've seen the Ganga, right, forever flows towards the sea, and no one can stop it. Without hindrance, it flows towards the sea, and no one can stop it. As the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you, without being diverted to anyone else. Now, you might have, if you're thinking as we're speaking, you might have a feeling and a question, because I always used to have a question, and my question was, but the Pandavas are great devotees. So, if she gives up her affection for the Pandavas, how is that right? My family are devotees. Am I supposed to give them up? So Krishna, in Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, he proposes this question, and he says to Kunti, in his explanation, does this mean that you want to attain the Brahma Jyoti? You want to give up all the affection for all the devotees? if you cut the knot of attachment to the Vrishnis, her family, in your heart, you will also destroy your attachment to me, he says, because I am part of the Vrishni family. So she says, this is to clarify for us. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, of course not. That's not what she wants. She says, but what I do want is I want a mighty stream, a river, a stream of affection and love for you to flood my mind. I want something positive. I don't want something negative. Let the flow of love for you be so swift and overpowering that it prevents my mind from distraction, attraction, distraction from anything else. I don't want to be distracted by anything. I only want a love for you that is so overpowering. I know, she says, that your devotees are non-different from you, and therefore without attachment to them, there cannot be any attachment to you. So such love for you that excludes the devotees would never please you. And therefore, let no attachment remain in my mind besides affection for you and for your devotees. So she clarifies her point here. And she says, what she really meant was, she said, I asked you to break the bonds of love that bind me to the Pandavas and the Yadavas, who are your devotees. By this I ask you to sever the material bond, the material attachment that has arisen in my heart because of what? She tells, because of my identification with this body. Just as we heard, the waves are coming in and the waves are going out. I cannot control the waves. I want that wave to last. I want that wave to last. Then you become a little bit obsessed and still you can't have it. So now we identify with the body and we think this is me, this is me, this is me. To the world, this is me. But throughout every part of our Vedic knowledge, we're hearing that no, you are the eternal one within the temporary, ever-changing body. You are the eternal one, not the changing body. That's your outer dress. And because I identify with my outer dress, I say, this person is my friend, that person is my enemy. This person I like, this person I don't like. They like me, they don't like me, and so on. But I'm identifying with my dress. So any of us here, if somebody stood up and I said, so who are you? I'm a purple coat. We say, could you explain that? Well, I'm a purple coat. You know, what's the difficulty for you to understand? See, I'm a purple coat. Then we would all think, this person's a little odd. Right? But we're a little odd. We're a little odd. Because I think I'm a maroon sari, and somebody thinks I'm a this, I'm a that. Because we're thinking this temporary situation is reality. And as devotees, we've been invited by Radha Ballava to understand more than that, to go deeply into truth, not artificial unintelligence, which is what now we're caught up in deeply. And so how does it feel to go towards the truth instead of to go towards something that is false? What do you think? If I put some false money here and I put some real money here, which would you take? The actual one. Anyone else would take the false one? I've got a big stack here, paper, and this one over here is worth something. This is the intelligence that we are praying for. Please help me to understand what Srila Prabhupada is giving us. And please help me to prioritize. Here's my consciousness, here's my family, my family, my family, my family, and a little bit is left. Please help me to go, here's Krishna, here's Krishna, here's Krishna, and here's my family. But first priority, I need to develop my relationship with Krishna. That's the purpose of coming here. That's the purpose of sitting here during a Bhagavatam class. That's the purpose of chanting on our beads. That's the purpose of worshipping the deity. That's the purpose of chanting the holy name. And ultimately, that's the purpose of going back to home, back to Godhead. When we say back to home, how do you feel? Yes? You feel good. Yes. If we say, I have to go back to the spiritual world, that sounds a little bit vague. But if I said you have to go home, we want to go home. Home is a natural, comfortable place. Home is where we feel ourselves. Home is where security is, where love is, where care is. At least in the ideal, in the modern age, home can be a hellish place for some people. But in the ideal, home is the place where we feel most at home. So Srila Prabhupada is telling us, take this Krishna conscious path, take it really to heart, because it can offer you so much. And if you say, it's hard, it's very hard, I'm really struggling, well, we can say, I sympathize with you, I know it's not easy. But neither is it easy to live in this world. Just to live a normal life is not easy. So why not invest in this? Why not take the real money instead of taking the artificial money? And why not try to understand what Kunti Devi is trying to understand in her prayers? This prayer describes the essence of love of Godhead. Upon attaining true love, one's consciousness turns into an unstoppable stream, rushing towards the beloved. It never dissipates, it never disappears. The very experience of such concentration brings one such happiness that interest in anything else, including one's personal happiness or grief, it ceases to be the most important thing. Krishna describes the movement of this love in the Bhagavad Gita, where he says, "The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to me." Such love, unlike its material imitations, sets one absolutely free. It sets you free to love Krishna. So this is what Srila Prabhupada had unflinching faith in, and he wanted to offer this to the whole world. And what would he say? He would say, take this Krishna consciousness and be happy. Because only by Krishna consciousness can you be happy. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Any fears in their heart? Yes, Ramakund.
In this verse, we are discussing how Krishna might cut the
Attachment.
take with the family, and then yesterday we were discussing about when something happens like we have to say that Krishna says this is me.
This is me.
And we have there is something for us to learn.
To learn, yes.
But because of our conditioning, attachment,
Yes.
maturity,
Yes.
even if Krishna takes away the family, we might get, even in this life, we might
Go find another family.
some other people, or
Yes.
something difficult
Yeah.
happen, we might not know what we are meant to learn. Our mind might
yes, yes, yes.
So how do we know for sure, what is it that we are meant to learn from difficulties?
How do we know what we're meant to learn from?
When difficulties happen, challenges,
If difficulties happen. How do we know what we're meant to learn? Yes, the question comes to, the culmination of the question is, difficulties may occur and we don't know what Krishna wants to happen. We might do the wrong thing, so to speak.
we might just go on a different tangent and
We,
not learn what we are meant to
we might not learn what we're meant to learn. So how do we know what we're meant to learn when difficulties happen? Well, sometimes we do make the wrong turn, right? If you're driving somewhere and it's a little complex to get there, your GPS is there, right? Your GPS is there, and fortunately your GPS has a audio. And so you're driving this way and it says turn right and you turn left. Yes? This happens. I've noticed, observed drivers who do the wrong thing. They turn left instead of right. And what does your GPS do? It reroutes you immediately. I think that's the answer. That Krishna is like a transcendental, absolute GPS. That first, the thing that's really interesting is that he doesn't sleep. He's not like a carer in this world, right? If we have a carer here, we're a little helpless and we have a carer. Sometimes they're off duty, they might not be alert to us. They go to sleep at night, we go to sleep at night, they're not on at that time. Ring me at this time, you might just get a voice response, something. They might not be there for us, right? So this is our experience of the material world. We might not have the protection and care that we need. And so when we see that we're confused by a circumstance, our tendency is to think that Krishna might not be there for us. Would you agree on that? But when we gain greater faith by greater experience, we begin to see that even if we do the wrong thing, we do something completely wrong, we go down a dead-end street, or we're turning now, we're going the wrong direction, Krishna will reroute us. He will say, okay, from here you need to do this, 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 and this. And the confidence that he's intimately guiding us is so important to develop. You have confidence in your GPS, everyone does. Nowadays, I remember there was a time when nobody had a GPS. They had confidence in their own power to discern where they were going, and they perhaps looked at a map beforehand, and off they went. But now we have all our faith is in the GPS. So we should have similar faith in Krishna. We should see the GPS, and every time we look at it, we should think, this is supposed to remind me of Krishna, how he's guiding me. But he's perfect. The GPS often makes mistakes because things change. But he's not like that. So therefore what Kunti's asking is actually what we all are actually in need of. And that is, I want to learn to love Krishna to such a degree that I feel his presence with me all the time. Would anybody deny they would like that? I don't think anyone here would say, oh, that's not interesting to me. And so that doesn't come overnight. Nothing comes overnight. There's a saying that Rome wasn't built in a day. So it's not that we can have an expectation that because I'm a devotee, Krishna will take care of everything for me, because that might be a little devoid of love. That might be kind of thinking he's like your father, who should take care of everything. He should pay the bills, he should fix this, he should fix that, and so on. So we step beyond the father concept of God, although we use it sometimes, because that's a self-serve one, give me things. And we're trying to do the other and say, how can I please you? How can I get to know you? How can I find you in my life? How can I see you in my life? And sometimes, I've seen it, that sometimes a great mistake is the beginning of a transition, a real transition. Because we might be going along thinking that near enough is good enough. I'm pretty good, I'm a kind of a, I'm enough of a devotee to be considered a good devotee. So that's enough, I put that there and off I go, and I have my own little things that I do as well. And then Krishna might say, no, you've come to the beginning of the next level. And the next level is you have to see all the things you're not doing correctly rather than the things that you are doing correctly. So a big blunder sometimes is the stepping stone towards something that's going to become revolutionary. Rasa, please. GPS. Yes. Start that again. Just a minute, we need the microphone for this. GPS means?
GPS, according to Hridayananda Maharaj, means God Positioning System.
God's positioning system. There you go. Thank you. Yes, so next time when you're in the car, you can think, oh, this is a far-away representation of Krishna himself. I'm very fortunate to be here with this. And then you go from there all the way to Krishna consciousness. Yes, next question.
There's a statement in the purport, Mataji, that says to cut off all family affection means to broaden the field of activities. What do we understand by broadening the field of activities?
That's a nice question. One time, I'll just tell you a little thought that I had one time. I was in Jagannath Puri, and it was many, many, many years ago. And I woke up early, and I was with a group of devotees, and so I went outside to chant. And I was sitting outside, and there were so many mosquitoes. And the mosquitoes were biting my hands, and I couldn't do anything about it because I had to chant, and I was trying to. So I was chanting, but I was defending myself against the mosquitoes. And then, of course, naturally they bit. And then I started to scratch. And then I'm chanting, but I'm scratching and scratching and scratching. And then I remembered something, how Prabhupada said that sex life is like an itch. It's like something that keeps troubling you. And it's like an itch, and he said, but one should not scratch it. And there I was with my mosquito bite, and I was scratching away, and it was getting worse and worse as long as I scratched. It seemed to get more and bigger. And then I was thinking about this, that when we get an infatuation in this world, it gets bigger and bigger the more that we kind of interact with it. And then I thought, I wonder what would help with the mosquito bite, because I'm trying to chant. And I noticed that if I went like this, sort of like this, very gently, softly on my hand, it created a tickling effect. You can all try it when you get home, or when you get your next mosquito bite. And I noticed that when I went like this and tickled my hand, the tickling effect was the same for the mosquito bite as this larger area that I was now creating a tickling sensation in. And slowly I began to sort of think, oh, that's all sort of one. So don't scratch it, just tickle around the edge, because that's a pleasant sensation. Just do that. And it actually worked. So then I thought back, because I had thought previously, so what does that mean? What's that significance of that? And I thought, okay, so if I become infatuated, or I have family attachment, I have attachment for somebody who takes up all my mind all the time, if I increase the number of people who I serve and who I appreciate, it puts it into perspective. Because the mind is trying to say, this is my family are the only important people to me. And what Prabhupada is saying is, broaden your family. Broaden your concept. The concept comes first. The concept means the idea. Right? So the first thing is, my idea of my family is this, and I'm very attached to my family, and so there they are, and it's like, very strong. And so as I broaden it, my field of activities also broadens, and I find that more people are part of my family. And I don't lose my family, but I get a bigger family. And this bigger family, I don't have the same kind of bodily attachment to them, because they're not my blood relatives, but I feel for them, I want to help them, I want to serve them. And so gradually what happens is, we start to feel like, there's so many people in the world, why am I only attached to my family? Or in the itch, why am I just attached to this one young man or young woman? There's so many people in the world. I broaden. And then, of course, when you take it to the ultimate point, then we think, oh, I could help these people. They're my bigger family. I could help them to love Krishna, and Krishna would be pleased with me. And if Krishna is pleased with me, he reciprocates with me in some way or another. And as he reciprocates with me, he gives me more love in my heart. He gives me the ability to love more people. And that's how we broaden.
I have another question, if you allow, Mataji. Also, Mataji, I work with a law firm, and
for a law firm.
And half my day is spent, at work, maybe 5 to 6 hours every day, interacting with those people. So how do I bring about that change where you mentioned that we have to turn down our material life and turn up our spiritual? We have to bring about that shift from...
How do we bring about the change? I'm going to work every day for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, or 10 hours. So I'm going to school every day, and I have to learn so many things. Or I'm going to, whatever I'm doing. Now some things we do we like I'm going to work, I might not like that so much. I'm going to play football, I might like that. So how do I bring up Krishna and bring down the attachment to the material, whether I like the material, like I like to sports, or whether I don't like the material, like I have to listen all day to the teachers? That's a very good question. So the general principle that we follow is that we set aside some time. We set aside some time and we say, this time is for Krishna. And during this time that's for Krishna, my duty and responsibility is to bring my awareness there. That's not easy, because we can do a routine and say, I go to the temple every day, but we may be thinking about so many other things in the temple. We may be thinking about our health, standing looking at the deities and thinking, my back is aching, and I've got an appointment at 10 o'clock and I don't know what I'm going to say. So the first thing is, become mindful. What's going on in your mind when you're doing the part that's meant to be for Krishna? And try to clarify that and get that to be more sensitive, more carefully done. And that doesn't mean be more productive. In the world today, everything's about do more, do more, do more. But in Krishna consciousness, it's about do this very intentionally. Do it carefully. In the beginning, yes, do more, do more, do more, do more, but you get to a certain point where you're sick of doing more and more and more. You can't do any more. You're doing as much as you can. Then what? Then start working on the quality. And then find people who already have a quality that you'd like to be like, and ask them how they do it. And then try to imitate, clearly imitating some of the things that they do. And slowly what happens is that imitation of somebody doing something better than you do it, it starts to become a habit. In the same way as a bad habit is formed, a good habit is formed. And a good habit means that I'm just imitating this. I don't really feel it, but I'm doing it. And I would like to be able to do it heartfeltly. And try and make that quality better now. Keep things the same as they are, but make that quality better. And that's how one builds it up. And is it hard? Yes. And does it happen overnight? No. But it works. One has to keep going.
Thank you, Mataji. My humble obeisance.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the nice class. Mataji, you were mentioning about attachments, and it is very natural to have an attachment to our family members. So, Mataji, being a devotee, I'd like to ask, is attachment the same as having an affection? Or is it that when we cross a certain boundary, that affection turns into attachment?
That's a really, really good question. That's a super good question. Is attachment the same as affection or love? And the answer is no. Attachment and affection are very different. Because love means I'm thinking about the well-being of the other person. And attachment means I'm thinking about how they give me something. They make me feel happy. They take care of me. They're mine. They do something to benefit. Something about them is good for me. And whereas love is, how can I help them? How can I bring them a little closer? And so love can be patient, and attachment is a little less patient. Because attachment is always worried that I might lose them. You know, if they so attachment is like in school, like so you're going to school and you have a best friend, right? And you're too old for this, but when you're 10 years old, 9 years old, you have a best friend. And your best friend is supposed to be your friend. And they're not supposed to look at anyone else. And if that girl looks at another girl and says, hello, you feel like, oh, that's terrible. Yes? I think we've been through that. And so then what happens is that's an attachment. She's my best friend. She's not supposed to say anything to anyone else. She's not supposed to play with that girl. She's not supposed to look at that one. She's supposed to be with me. So I always think of that when I think of that kind of attachment, what an attachment feels like. An attachment feels really uncomfortable. A lot of the time feel uncomfortable because they're looking at someone, they're doing something, they might not like me if this happens, and so on. There's a lot of unease in an attachment. And in love, there's a flow, because you're no longer thinking what you're going to get. You're thinking how to help the person. And if you can't help them at that particular moment, you'll be looking for another opportunity. So most of us have a blend of the two, attachment and affection. So we're trying to remove the attachment part, and we're trying to develop a genuine affection. And the genuine affection has to be based on who we really are. Right? Otherwise I'm saying, I love you so much, old brown sweater. And you don't feel happy and I don't feel happy like that.
I had another similar question, which was on attachment, because I've been watching the Ramayan episodes with my siblings, and we see...
You've been wanting what?
The Ramayan serial?
The Ramayan serial.
Yes. So in that we see how Keiki, she had so much affection for Bharat that she got those 2 boons. She made him the king, sent Lord Ram to the forest.
Yes, move this up closer.
And at the same time we see Maharaj Dashrath. He had so much of an attachment to Lord Ram that once Ram left the kingdom, he just couldn't handle it.
Yes.
So when we see like the little parents of Lord Ram having so much attachment to their son, then we feel as if ourselves it's very hopeless, I guess, that how can we get rid of our attachments?
Yes, but you see this is a drama. The Ramayana is like a drama. So in a drama, there's some lesson, something you're supposed to learn, right? If even in the plays of Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, this one, that one, you know, these people, they fall in love with each other and then they both die and it's tragic and everybody learns something. So similarly, in the Ramayana, what you're supposed to learn is the nature of attachment. That Ram's in so much trouble because if he's so attached to Sita, he takes Sita to the forest. So Srila Prabhupada says that there's a lesson in the Leela. That's not all that's there. There's also a beautiful Ram Leela. But for us who are conditioned, who don't have love for Lord Ram, if we had bhakti, real bhakti, we would just cry and cry and cry. And we'd be crying because we love Lord Ram, not crying because this makes me feel hopeless. But for us who feel hopeless when we see it, that's because we're being taught something. Look, if you're so attached to your wife, you bring her to the forest, look what can happen. And look, you're so attached to your son, and because of that attachment, when he leaves, you die. So this is all Leela. It's very special. It's not ordinary. It's totally transcendental, and it's full of all kinds of emotional rasa, transcendental emotions that we don't experience yet. But if we continue with our bhakti, we will understand. But on the outside, it's a lesson.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you for the nice class. Mataji, sometimes affection can be controlling, where we don't want the person who we love to do certain things which will put them into trouble.
Yes.
But then they also have their own choice. But we know that if they're going to do that, they'll be in trouble.
Yes.
So how to balance that, where you're also helping them not to lose their individuality, which they have, and their choice, but also to instruct them at the same time so that they don't do the mistakes, so that they're not in trouble?
Well, two things I can say is depends on what age you're talking about. If you're talking about somebody who's under the age of about 14, then you have to intervene because they're not fully mature yet, and so they may make errors that they don't realize are errors. But if you're talking about somebody who's already a mature person, then sometimes they have to make a mistake. And sometimes they're going to learn more by the mistake than they would learn if you told them, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. They're going to learn. So therefore we pray to Krishna all the time, what do you want? I want to please you. This is where our relationship with Krishna is so important, because if we understand correctly, he loves them too. So if I pray to him, he will give me the intelligence how to deal with them. They belong to him. They don't belong to me. They're only in my life for maybe a maximum 100 years or less. So they don't belong to me. They belong to him. What should I do? How do I do it? And sometimes you can't do anything, especially when it's to generational experience. But you can be there and you can pray for them, but you can't necessarily control what choices they're going to make. And sometimes it's very important that you guide their intelligence because they're not yet experienced enough to understand what is good for them and what is not good for them. So it depends on the variables, depend on the circumstance. Yeah? Okay. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo. Thank you.